The Audi e-tron has been around a while in India, and when the car was first launched, we were pretty impressed by it. Well, now we have a facelift version over here, but it's coming as the Q8 e-tron. This is because the e-tron moniker has been used for all of Audi's EVs, so this needed its own identity. It sits at the top of the range as the Q8 e-tron. We're getting it in the Sportback and in the regular SUV version. We're going to dive into the details and see what's new. But before I do that, why don't you hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the latest car reviews. On the outside, we see a new trapezoidal grille with an entirely new design, and taking center stage is the new 2D logo. A new LED bar runs across the top of the grille, casting a glow on the logo, while the headlamps retain the Audi signature style. The lower half of the bumper is reworked with two large flared-out portions on the sides with contrast faceted inserts. The sides remain similar to the earlier car, with only the alloys getting a new design. Now you can also opt for the self-leveling logo on these alloys. Globally, you get the rear view stalks, but for India, we have the conventional side view mirrors, and I think that's a good thing because they just work better. You also get the charging ports on both sides of the car. The rear is where the differentiation between the body styles is seen, with the Sportback roof sloping sharply down and the SUV having a more upright stance. The Sportback has the lip spoiler on the tailgate and the SUV has it above the windscreen. Apart from that, the rear of both have an LED bar running across the rear like before, but the lower half has a larger diffuser. All the changes have also helped Audi reduce the drag coefficient, which helps increase range. The Sportback version we had was fitted with the optional black back, which makes it look even sharper than it already did. There's no doubt the Sportback is the eye-catcher. And overall, all the changes on this new Audi Q8 e-tron make it look better. Now, another big change is the battery size. The 55 variant that we have has a bigger battery. It's now 114 kilowatt hour, which is up from the earlier 95 kilowatt hour battery that it had. While power and torque remain the same, the range has now increased, and you can get 487 to 600 kilometers of range depending on driving conditions. At launch, there will also be a 50 variant as well with a 95 kilowatt hour battery. So let's get inside and see what all those changes mean from behind the wheel. But before I jump into the front seat, let's get into the back seat and see if anything else is different. Okay, so good news on the inside is the bigger battery really hasn't made any change to the back seat comfort. You still sit as comfortably in this back seat. It's not too low to the floor, so the seating position is comfortable. You have a good amount of under-thigh support. You have enough leg room over here, lots of place to stretch out your feet. So it is a comfortable back seat. In this SUV version, you have enough headroom as well. I know I'm short, but even taller passengers will be comfortable as far as legroom or headroom is concerned over here. You have all the other amenities that you need. You have the central armrest with storage and cup holders right here. You have two USB-C ports. You have 4-zone AC in this car, so each individual passenger at the back can adjust airflow and the temperature as well. You have that nice panoramic sunroof that really opens it up and makes it feel airy. And of course, you have the sun blinds too to keep the heat out. Okay, so up front, really not much has changed in the car. It's pretty much the same layout as it was before. Now, the car that you see with us is a spec with the optional packs. So you get this brushed aluminium here on the dash. The regular one will have the brown inlay. You get seats with the adjustable headrests, whereas in the regular car, you get the fixed headrests on this seat. But otherwise than that, everything is the same. You can also opt for things like the 360-degree camera. Let's bring that up for you. Once I put it into reverse, you can see it, and that's a really nice, handy addition. You also get ventilated and massage seats, which are optional now, so that's a great thing. Let's get going. And while I do, take a look at the feature list. While there is an extensive feature list, a lot of them are offered as options, and you do miss things like wireless connectivity for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And now for how it feels out on the road. The first thing you notice when you get into the car and drive is the feeling of the steering. It feels much better now. It's more responsive, it's more progressive, and it honestly has a little bit more feel to it, which is something we missed in the earlier car. It felt a little inert, but this one is much better. Audi have worked on it, and I have to say it shows. Weaving through our highway traffic, one more feature was apparent. You have the drive assist features as well, which you feel that gentle tug on the steering wheel if you veer off your lane. It pulls you back. These are features we're getting very used to in cars these days. The Saturday traffic tested my patience in the bid to find more open stretches to be able to test the performance, and we only got short gaps of space. Now, as expected of an EV, dump your foot down and you do get a massive slug of torque. Which is always nice. And then the power just builds up nice and progressively. And it is pretty quick. It's 5.6 seconds to 100. It's not a sharp acceleration. And while there is a strong tug, it's never aggressive. And the car just pulls in one clean linear wave. Overtakes come easily, and that's the joy of the instant torque served up in an EV. You never have to wait on power, it's always there on demand. Gentle dabs on the throttle bring up good doses of power. The only problem with that is you can deplete the power quite rapidly if you keep pedal to metal in an EV. So you really have to be balanced in the way that you drive and often coast to ensure you stretch the range. And of course, the car has its own ways to recharge as well. Okay, you do have the Regen as well, and you can use it nicely via the paddle shifters. Regular mode allows you to lift off and coast quite easily. There's a first step which gives you a stronger level of regen when you lift off, and then there's the third step which actually brings you to a complete halt, which is really for single pedal driving. But what I like about it is that it brings you to a halt nice and gradually. It's not jerky, it's not sharp, it's not too aggressive, it's very smooth. So using the highest level of regen in city traffic would be good in the Q8 e-tron. What else is lovely about an EV is the level of refinement. You know, the silence that you kind of waft around in. And this cabin is just so well insulated. It really keeps other sounds out. There's no road noise, no wind noise. So honestly, it feels very refined. The Q8 delivers on the luxury experience, be it the refinement or the ride. It goes over the road, softening the blows to passengers and keeping them comfortable always. And you do have the options of modes, choosing between the most comfortable or dialing it up a notch. Now you also have a series of drive modes, and you can toggle through them through the haptic button on the lower screen. You have off-road, all-road, efficiency, comfort, auto and dynamic, and you even have individual settings. The good thing is that with this adaptive air suspension, the ride height also adapts with each kind of mode. So when you're in off-road, it raises, and when you're in dynamic, it lowers. And even with speed, the ride height adjusts. The air suspension alters the height based on modes. Regular ground clearance is 176 millimeters, which is really enough to clear the speed breakers, but the total amount you can adjust the height is 50 millimeters. If you toggle through the modes, in off-road mode, it rises by 35 millimeters, in sport, it lowers by 13 millimeters, and over 140 kilometers, it lowers by 13 millimeters as well, to add to your grip. Talking of grip, the track is increased, and that means handling should be better too. You know, like I said, the steering has got more responsive, handling feels predictable. I really can't tell too much on it because I'm not on a twisty, windy section of road. The highway here is pretty straight. So I'll have to tell you more on that when we do take this car out on winding roads. As far as the highway driving feel goes, the car was stable and secure. A short drive gave us a quick first impression of the Q8 e-tron, and it remains impressive. And before we wrap it up, let's take a look at the two body styles. The SUV is the more practical one, but the Sportback is really the one that steals one's heart. What is the real difference? Well, we've been driving the SUV all day, but you do get the Sportback, which in my opinion is the hotter looking version of this car, especially with this black pack. I really like it. That slinky sloping roofline that comes to the rear makes it look so hot. And of course, another difference really is boot space. This is 30 liters less than you get in the SUV. So if it's boot space you're looking for, this may not be the right choice for you. If you're very tall and you use the back seat, then this also may not be the right choice for you. I'll tell you why. Now, I'm not really very tall, but you can see there's just enough headroom for me over here as well. So tall people might find this headroom a bit tight as compared to the SUV. Other than that, mechanically, really everything else remains the same for these two cars. The way it drives out on the road also remains the same. Price is expected to be around 1.3 crore for the 50 variant, and that's quite substantial. Also, it does have more competition around with the likes of the BMW iX now available in India. However, the point to note is that the Q8 e-tron won our last comparison test, and this one has only upped the ante on all levels, whether it is range, looks, comfort, or in the way that it drives. Now, it may not have the wow factor or the gizmos of its newer rivals, but you do get a no-nonsense practical EV which delivers a serene driving experience. And the Sportback in particular will turn heads.